Hello, this is Neil, the art instructor at masterpaintingnow.com, where you can find loads of free lessons and tutorials on drawing and painting. Right, so in this lesson we're going to go through a little bit about how to draw cartoons. It's one of the courses that I plan to make at some point. I might even do it next, I don't know. It depends on what people say in the comments and stuff, and let me know what course they want to see next. So when you draw a cartoon, what it really comes down to is knowing the fundamentals. So you have to know how to draw figures, how to draw the ideal figure. Without that knowledge, then you're not going to really be able to draw cartoons so easy. But if you know the human anatomy and you know the figure, you know the proportions and all that, then you can just take that and distort it. It's all about just distorting, exaggerating, and, well, rather, simplifying and exaggerating are the main things, and then distorting also. But simplification and exaggeration are the main things used to make like any kind of style of art you can think of, and cartoons being one of those styles. So let's get started. If you haven't already taken my form or my either my Master Human Figure course or even better my newer course, which is the Human Anatomy for Figure Drawing, and it's 65 hours long. It's an awesome course. So I recommend getting it. Check it out. Anyway, so if you have that knowledge, then it's just a matter of taking that knowledge and applying it to exaggerating. So let's say we want to draw like a big character, but he's kind of a gorilla-like kind of character, right? So then you go, okay, I want to start out with the shoulders here, and I still know everything is going to apply the same. And so again, if you haven't already gone through one of my courses, then this part might be lost on you exactly how to, you kind of have to have that knowledge. I can't show it all in one video. It's like trying to learn algebra without knowing how to add and subtract. So right, so you have the head here, and the head's going to be kind of sitting on, let's say, a really large neck, and maybe we're not even going to see much of the neck at all. It's going to kind of be like that. And this is kind of like maybe the shape of the head he's going to have, something along these lines here, and this can be his hairline or something like that. And then let's say he's going to have really big shoulders, and so let's say underneath his chin here where we can't see it, he's going to have his collarbones. They're going to come out here like this. And then the other landmark I want to make is somewhere down here. He's on kind of a short torso. It's his hip bones. And they're going to be like this, and they're going to be kind of more wide, maybe more narrow and high, but no, more wide like a female, which is kind of weird, but that's fine. And then we're going to come down with his legs. He's going to have like maybe short legs like this, and then maybe big feet. And so really long arms are going to come like down to here because he's the typical gorilla type character. So it's really exaggerating the form, right? So what I'm doing here is one, I'm going to simplify the form. That has to do with both rendering style and a simplification of things in general, like the arms. So instead of getting all more comic-y with it, where you're really exaggerating the anatomy and really pulling all these muscles out and exaggerating all this, or if anything, at least making it realistic, more realistic than having these big old hands like this. We're instead of doing that, we're going to take it and we're going to simplify all of that and make the character much more simple looking. In that case, we're just going to be like, okay, bam, he has an arm here. It's like our deltoid ends. We can maybe kind of hint at, bicep in this area here just a little bit, and then just kind of simplify and have hand or a form come down. And the form can't taper too much because why? We're giving these big old Hulk-like hands, right? Where his hands are going to be fit, somewhere into this area here, like this, right? So this is a typical gorilla kind of shape. We'll have his chest coming down here. And he's going to come over here like this. That's a deltoid. That's his back. Maybe this arm is coming out this way, or maybe he's even coming up. I don't know what to do with the arm for now. We'll just do it generic for now. Just generic kind of pose. Maybe kind of have the form coming toward us a little bit, and then hand coming down like that. We need it bigger though. All right, so form's kind of coming at us a little bit. So notice everything is pretty simplified. And then if you have a really big body like this, usually the typical case is you come in and you have the big torso and connecting to your love handles and stuff, all that's wide as well. That's why Hulk has a really big wide base. You don't have this like, you could also do something, with a really big wide base and shoulders and everything, and maybe even smaller biceps and big O forearms, big chest, and then come down with the wings, and then taper all this down to a small torso where you have small hip bones and love handles, and it comes down to the legs. That's another body style that you can do. And so it's all about exaggerating the form. So cartoons of any type, whether it be manga or whether it be Disney type stuff or comics, it all comes down to what you choose to exaggerate. So we're going to give them some simple straight legs. What you choose to exaggerate, what you choose to simplify, bring detail out, etc. That's like a basic body type. You'll see this body type in many characters. It's there's many characters that have this kind of gorilla-like body type. It's not just one character out there that this fits. There might be some recent movies that have used it that might come to your attention, and in that case, you can start giving them that kind of look. Actually, give them the close together eyes, more of the gorilla, and you can really see the the gorilla-like influence from everything, from pretty much everything you're looking at is like really from a monkey or gorilla influence. And then I don't know what kind of nose we can give them we can even give them like a bigger, gorilla type nose. Well, maybe not that big, but we could if we wanted to. It's really up to you. And I have in my faces course, my human head course, I go through all about style and how to apply style to faces. And the cartoon course, which will go into comics and manga and all that, will be all about how do you apply that to the figure. And this is just one example where I'm applying it. I'm exaggerating the form, making him. I'm simplifying. I'm exaggerating. I'm distorting the form to where he's nice and squat, really short legs. Pretty much a normal sized torso, but really wide, big person, kind of like Hulk. And then I'm just giving him these, more like gorilla-like legs, where it's unnatural type legs. And so that's how it's just a matter of what you're choosing to exaggerate and what you're choosing to simplify. And that's what the course would go through, would be, all about. I don't know if you've already seen my head course, it'd be doing that same thing, but for the figure. I don't want, actually, that's too much detail. I think his nose should be more simple. Keep it simple, it's more of a cartoon. And then, you can give him whatever kind of mouth you want. He can have a smile. He can have a little bit of a frown. Now we got to decide, do we want to have like a just a fat head like this, or then it starts to really look like maybe like a character we've seen recently, or we can add kind of like this kind of chin to him. And then it kind of changes the kind of character he is. Just little things like that will make a difference in what kind of character we're drawing. You can give them clothes, whatever, however you want to design the characters, up to you. But that's how it's done. You can do a big-headed kind of character with a small body as well. And that's popular in cartoons. You see it a lot, so you can have more. Again, you can. I do this on my head course where I show you like you make a face out of like kind of like two shapes, and then that's you go from there. But let's say he's gonna have a really thin neck here instead of a big neck. And from here, the anatomy is it all comes into play. All this anatomy is here. But what I'm doing is I'm distorting the anatomy, give him some kind of gesture like this, and maybe you're gonna come down, or maybe you're gonna come more straight, and then give him regular, sized legs and feet like this, and then you'd add the arms onto him. This all just depends on how you want your character to look. You can also come down more thin here, make the hips, and give him a long torso. Then, these like thinner legs down here like this. And this is, one type of body you can do. And so it's all about, what it is you're exaggerating, what it is, you're doing, but without having a fundamental knowledge first of anatomy of the human figure, then all this is going to be really difficult for you to do. You're going to have a really hard time with it. But once you have the anatomy down, all this stuff becomes pretty simple. It's just a matter, drawing cartoons is just a matter of what you want to simplify or not. You can even give tube-like arms. I mean, you don't even have to, like Mickey Mouse. You don't even have to. You can simplify that much. And originally, cartoons were simplified was because they needed to draw this person, this character, over and over again, frame after frame after frame after frame. And it's like, well, what's easier to draw frame after frame after frame? You know, and 3 fingers. Oops. 3 fingers. Okay. Give it a little better 3 fingers, or to actually draw an arm with more definition to it. And obviously, the way was easier. We can give him a big kind of nose, like a big bulbous nose here, but then like little nostrils, or little flares rather, little nostrils and flares. You can do, these kind of cartoon eyes. I mean, there's all kind of eyes you can do when it comes to simplifying. It's just how simple are you going to make it? How much are you going to distort and things like that? You can really distort his eyes and make him look like he's, you know, evil or tired by giving him these really dark end set sockets here. Now he's probably going to turn more into what we'd consider, an evil kind of character. Whatever kind of shape eyebrows you want to give the character as well. In this case, you might want to go with a thinner head here, and maybe, we could go with, more round ears out here. Now we're just totally distorting and changing the shape of what we know to be the ear, right? And then, the jaw and the face, maybe you can kind of come out this way, and then we're going to come the little chin like this. And then it's a matter of, well, what kind of mouth I want to give him. Maybe he's in the middle of talking or something. And all this too, you have to decide, how simple are you going to make it? How complicated are you going to make it? Is he going to have? Is he going to have a bottom lip at all? And then hair. Is he going to be bald? A couple of twigs. What kind of hair is he going to have? A hat? All this kind of stuff. Maybe he's going to have a kind of front do like this. Whatever. So now you have this kind of bigger headed characters and small bodies. That's probably a little bit long of a neck, so I think I would take this down and make his neck a little bit shorter. But anyway, the idea is there. This is really quick sketching. You can take this and turn either of these into a more full flesh drawing. Put actual hands on here and everything like that. But when you're just kind of figuring it out and thinking about how you want things to look, you don't want to spend too much time on it. Let's say his shirt comes like this, comes out, kind of wrinkles down, comes around like that. And then his pants, you might be able to see a little bit of his pockets. Whether you add wrinkles, all that kind of stuff, those kind of details you have to draw into the character though, and that just makes it. You can also do long faces. Anyway, I go into all kinds of different faces and how to draw faces in the head course, but the knowledge you need to get to this point where you can begin to design, it's really about having that fundamental knowledge of anatomy. So the anatomy course, or any anatomy course, that doesn't have to be mine. I just think mine is one of the best on the market as far as the teaching style and how it works, and just really it works. So yeah. Let's say you wanted to draw a character. I mean, let's say you want to draw a manga character, for example. You can go, okay, well, a typical character is, when you have the height of the character, you have the halfway point, and that halfway point is the where you have your hip bones. Well, with manga characters, you might make it to where it's more like this. The ratio is a little different, and so now the hip bones are here, and then you have, say the head's gonna be somewhere around this big here. I'll fit the head into that area. I don't want the character to be too wide. These are like just quick guidelines to show you how wide the character can be. Zoom in a little bit so you can see everything. We'll decide what kind of head we're going to give it in a little bit. but we just do the basic thing. You have the collarbones coming out here. The arms are going to be, the arms come down. Then you have the hands. All this is the proportions. I teach all this in the course. And the legs, they'll come down. Feet. Right, so what we have here is really extra long legs, right? But short torso, and that's kind of like the typical manga proportion. And then we come in and we start adding detail. We go, okay, let's say we're going to have a thinner neck, and then you have the muscles here. Manga is typically a lot more just doing basic shapes here for now. You can do the triangle thing if you wanted to for where nipples might be and all that. Also, another thing that's true is with a normal person, when you have the rib cage here, rib cage doesn't come down. There's going to be a space between the rib cage and the pelvic bone. All that remains the same with manga. You can virtually get rid of that, and it depends on the style that you're going for. Right, that's right. What a rib cage would be. Typically, a normal, realistic female, the breast would begin like here. That's where they attach, and then they lay on top of the rib cage and come up like that. That would be like normal. But with manga, they like their breasts typically high up, and so they'll start up way up here by the collarbone, and they don't go very far, and they make them very perky. And now I'm actually making it more realistic. I'm kind of like, and this right here can be a stylistic choice too, but they're high up more normal than what they normally would be on manga, but it's pretty close. Also, another thing that's typical manga is really thin upper bodies for females, so this area here is typically going to be very tiny. And so, and the arms are going to come out here. And now the halfway point, you have your love handles coming up off here. Now, and also, I did a man's pelvis, so a woman's pelvis is wider and comes down further, and this makes her love handles larger. And that's where the belly button is going to be. And the rib cage will come in, thin rib cage typically, thin characters. You can also imagine a triangle coming down here, and that's kind of like how you can check that you have, the love handles at a good angle and correct size that looks like that. That's about the look you want. There's all different styles of manga, so it's not just one style. This right here is about the mid part of the arm. They typically have thin arms, and it's simplified, so you wouldn't see all of that actually. You can draw that, but when you come back over and ink it or do your final drawing, it's not going to have that detail. I'm imagining that detail being there, even though I'm not drawing. You don't have to draw. I can just imagine it. Right. You can even exaggerate the thinness of the waist even more so if you wanted to for manga. For those that don't know, the difference between manga and anime isn't a style. It's just the meaning of the words. It's that manga is comic books and stuff, and anime is moving. It's cartoons. It's Japanese style cartoons. Right, so the collarbones come out that way. Sometimes they make their deltoids really short too instead of long. And so this is like a short deltoid versus a realistic deltoid comes down way farther. But sometimes they show that too, and it's all style choices. This is where you choose to what you exaggerate and what you don't, and that makes up the style of that particular manga because every manga is different. Right? You can really pull this out here. Now the widest part of the hips is going to be right here at the center point. The reason why that's the widest part of the body, the female, is you have these wide hips, and then that forces the bones that come out. The humerus bone comes out here, then it comes in. Comes out here, it comes in. Still, you want to do the halfway point for the legs. That doesn't change. right? And that's what makes the legs have this widest point here. And then, you can use some anatomy to make the shape of the legs. Manga typically has some anatomy. They don't simplify too much when it comes to anatomy. They're not necessarily realistic, but they're more they tend to be more like comic artwork. And this is actually really long. Probably too. I probably exaggerated the length a little too much. These are usually really petite. So I'm thinking I'm thinking I exaggerated it a little too much here. So that's that's a really exaggerated leg. So I wouldn't actually make the legs that long nor that big for manga. I would still keep all that up there like I have it. That's all manga style. The legs though, I think I'm gonna we'll make them a little bit shorter. And maybe we can do a little something with them. I don't know. Let's. I was just showing the proportions and stuff of manga, but let's say and kind of push this hip up a little bit higher, and this will be the leg that's coming straight. Knowing why you pull lines from where I'm pulling them from, that all comes down to knowing the anatomy. And then so let's say this leg here then. Or from the side or something, just kind of stepping forward a little bit. But that's pretty much, a manga style, typical manga style. So that this hip is being pushed up more because the weight's on this leg, and this leg's more relaxed and kind of pulled back away from that leg a little bit. So this leg is stepping forward more on the plane level. And then, then it's just a matter of what kind of face you want to add. There's all different kinds of manga faces to choose from. But typically, a manga face will be like wider at the top and kind of has like a egg shape like this. So, and then let's go ahead and draw eyes in here. Typically big eyes. Again, this all comes down to style. There's all different kinds of style of manga. And sometimes the noses are really simplified, sometimes they're more realistic. It really just depends on the style of manga. Sometimes mouths are just a simple line, sometimes they add a little more. Again, it depends on the manga that we're talking about. Sometimes it's a pointy chin like this, sometimes it's not as pointy. Most always you have the middle of the hair here, and you have strands of hair coming down. You have your bangs, and you have the highlight mark in there. That's a common trait that's in most all of them. Then you have the back hair, and then you have side hair and back hair mixing together. It depends on what kind of style. And actually, let's not go that wide. Let's give her a little bit of ears here. Right, and that's pretty much it. So manga is just a matter of what you're choosing to distort, what you're choosing to bring out. It typically the ratio is, instead of right in the half, let's say this is the center, it's coming up just a little bit higher, making that the center. All this stays really thin. Sometimes they might have thicker hips if they're more of a woman, but the hips never get too big. And this all stays pretty unnaturally short, anatomically unrealistic. But yeah, and arms might not be that long; they might be a little bit shorter. And boobs aren't always going to be in the way of the arms, but your arms are kind of pulled back. She's kind of pulling her shoulders back a little bit as well. that's it. Drawing cartoons is a matter of distorting, exaggerating, and simplifying any of the forms. That can include how you render it. It can include simplifying could including the rendering style. Simplifying can also mean like the actual shapes themselves change to where the arm becomes very simple, or the leg becomes very simple. You don't put as much realistic detail into the legs. You simplify them more like a comic, or you can add more detail to the leg. It's up to you. The knee might become a little bit more realistic, and then you might have this. You might show this muscle here, show the calf more. This is all stuff that you can decide. Maybe you'll show the serratus coming through here a little bit. That's all up to you on how much detail you want to add to it. So if you're going to be drawing it over and over and over again, you got to consider you have to draw all those details over and over and over again. Do you really want to draw that much detail? And so you might simplify the leg more, and that's why, again, that's the whole reason, that's the purpose behind simplification. And you might want to just take all this and minimize it as well to where it becomes more like just kind of a shape like that. And a lot of manga will do that, in other words, it's quick to draw. But anyway, I hope this helps you in drawing cartoons better and to think about it and realize, hey, if I want to be a good comic artist or manga artist, or I want to be an animator in any style at all, if I want to draw figures as my main thing, whether it be conceptual artist or storyboarding or comic artist, you need the fundamentals. No matter where you learn them from, you need to learn them somewhere. And if you want to get a sample of my course and how I teach, I have that available here on my YouTube channel. Also, you can go to masterpaintingnow.com and check out the new course I have available. That is the Human Anatomy course for figure drawing. That's the knowledge you need. That's the fundamental stuff you need. It's like saying, hey, I want to go and be a physicist, but I'm not going to learn addition, multiplication. I'm just going to skip all that. I'm just going to go right into calculus. I'm going to skip algebra and everything. You can't do that. To understand calculus and to understand the equations that a physicist uses on a daily basis, you have to start from the fundamental stuff. And without that fundamental knowledge, and so like in figure drawing, I guess the equivalent of addition and all that, of addition and multiplication, or addition and subtraction and stuff, would be your proportions that the middle point, being able to, go, hey, there's another halfway point here, another halfway point here. That's the size of the head. A body is typically 3 heads wide. That's going to be the widest part of the body. Understanding that the knee is halfway here. Understanding these proportions, 1/3 way down is the neck, and that segment. You have your arms coming down to about the wrist, at least coming down to the wrist about a little above the halfway mark. Then that's where your hands go. Your hands are about the size of from your chin to a little bit up to your eyebrows, basically. Understanding this basic stuff here, then you have about a 2/3 space between the bottom of the rib cage and the top of the pelvic bone. I'll kind of make it more of a skeletal structure here that comes out. To understand all that, that is like, addition and multiplication, or excuse me, addition and subtraction. And then division and multiplication is understanding, hey, there's forms here, and that's the mannequin. Being able to add the mannequin onto the skeleton. These just basic forms. And we can make a mannequin however we want, but let's say it just ends up becoming something basic like so. That's just a real quick sketch. You get the idea. And then, getting into algebra and all that kind of stuff is understanding how the muscles attach to the bones and understanding some of the landmarks of the bones, like wrist bones and things like that pop out to be able to get that level of realism. And but understanding how all the muscles attach to all the bones, that's all your algebra, and then calculus is finishing the skin and how the skin attaches to it and everything, and how the skin looks and fat tissue where all that builds up. And then you're able to draw characters from your imagination. That's what my course is all about. And I go in that order, and I teach in that order because that's how it should be taught, I think, because that's how the brain processes it. And then you're able to take that knowledge and draw anything you want, and start thinking of poses and go, okay, how would the muscles attach to the bones in this pose when the arm's twisted this way? And you can logically figure that out, and that's what the course teaches you. It gives you that knowledge. Again, the course is 65 hours long. That seems like a long figure course. My other figure course is only 13 hours long. So that's because this course goes into the meat of anatomy, of really knowing what you need to know to draw figures from imagination and from any pose. It's absolutely necessary knowledge that you absolutely need to have, and then you're able to draw cartoons. So cartoons might seem like something that's really easy to draw, but every cartoonist out there that's good at what they do, that can whip out cartoons frame after frame and do a Disney movie, and do several frames of an animation of someone running or walking, whatever, kicking, whatever it is, or do several panels of a comic book, do several panels of a storyboarding, bust out several characters and a couple different poses for concept art and stuff like that. They all have the fundamentals down. That's how they're able to do all this stuff. They wouldn't be able to do that without those fundamentals. You can't skip it. And anyway, so drawing cartoons is taking that fundamental knowledge. So when I do make my cartoon comic manga course, how to draw cartoons, manga, and comics, that course is going to have a prerequisite. Just like if you were to go take a course on algebra, they would expect you to already know how to do addition, all that. So your prerequisite classes you have to take before you take that class. That is, before you take an algebra class, you have to take your basic math and all that kind of stuff. Before you take calculus, you have to take algebra classes and geometry and trigonometry. That's fundamental knowledge. You have to know that stuff in order to understand calculus. Otherwise, calculus will make no sense to you. You can't just go and take a calculus class and expect to understand it. So when that course does come out, it's going to take you knowing already about anatomy and stuff. So if you've already learned that elsewhere, great. If not, then you'll need to buy it, buy my other course with it so that it makes sense to you. Or when they're all packaged together, buy a package bundle. I eventually want to make a package bundle or just a separate course on all about how to draw comics and manga and cartoons. It's just one big package deal that teaches you all that. Thank you for watching. Hey, if you found this video useful, do me a favor, click on the share button and share it with Facebook and Twitter and StumbleUpon and stuff like that. If you don't already have some of those accounts, go ahead and start them, and they're fun. And anyway, that will help other people. If this helped you, it'll help other people too. Share the love, share the knowledge. Let's all be about sharing. Sharing is good. Free is good. So share good free stuff with other people. Thanks.